I'm a pet lover. I am a computer geek. I love to play around on the computer. I'm a teacher of teachers, but foremost I'm a teacher of kids, which is very important to me. I'm a master's student. I'm a traveler. I'm a reader and a bookworm. I like to play games with my kids, but the most important thing to me is my family. But I'm also a person who deals with a chronic mental illness. Well, first of all, my story is my story. So this is about what I've experienced. The type of depression I have is related to a bipolar depression, and the manic part is quite balanced now because I'm on the right medication, but my depressions roll in and out in ebbs and flows. I think maybe if they had asked some of those questions from the PSP module where they had that assessment, that diagnostic assessment, I would have never thought I was actually bipolar. I think I've experienced depression throughout my life and have had some minor depressions. I started battling as a chronic illness about 8 years ago when my daughter Riley was born. 6 months after her birth, I started really experiencing some serious symptoms, and I had two wonderfully caring doctors, and I'd known them for 5 years, and they had been there for me during my 2 pregnancies and helped me deliver my first daughter. After I delivered Riley, I'd had some issues with sleep with her, and I wasn't sleeping very well. Every time I went into the appointments, I was less and less engaged. I was more down. I wasn't myself. I wasn't excited about my baby. I was not who they knew during the time of my pregnancy, during the time of other issues that I've dealt with them, regular checkups. I was just not myself, and they knew who I was. I think they knew I was sliding into a depression, but I didn't know it. And they also knew that I wouldn't take the time out of my busy schedule to go in and see them. They knew, though, that I would take the time for my daughter. So we scheduled some regular appointments for my daughter to see how she was doing. And they were always asking me really good questions about my depression and, you know, how I was feeling, was I sleeping, and I wasn't. And they'd, talked about medication, but I was really hesitant because I was nursing. They had suggested going to a support group for postpartum depression, but I was hesitant because it took more time away from my family. I was actually coming back from a meeting at a neighboring town, and I was driving home, and I had this incredible experience of where I was hearing these voices. And these voices were telling me that I should drive off the road, and that my family would be better off without me, and I should just drive off the road and die right then and there. And that was it. I can even feel it now, the tingles. I can sense of what was happening to me. But there was something that kept me straight on that road. The next day, luckily, I had one of those scheduled appointments with that one of those doctors. And I went in, we were sitting there, and she asked me this very important question. And she said, "Have you heard any voices?" And I said, "Well, yes." And I explained this situation to her, and at that moment, she said, "We need to get you to the hospital." And I ended up staying in a hospital for 8 weeks. I think the key to it was my doctors knew me. They knew to start asking some of those questions. And I think she just happened to ask that right question at the right time, and I got the help that I needed. After I got better, I thought it was all over. I thought, okay, I'm done. I'm healthy now, I'm ready to go, things are all done. At that point, I had, my daughter had been diagnosed with cancer, and so I had to go and take care of her, so I better be good, everything should be fine. And it was. For a couple years, things were okay. Unfortunately, I went through a lot of life stuff, and ended up divorcing and became a single parent, and my daughter went through her cancer treatments and moved to another community, and the care where I went was fine, but I have to make sure that I build a relationship. And as I did that, I got sicker, and I became more and more depressed. As I was trying to get help, I'd go to my doctor and say, I'm getting depressed, I'm falling depression, and they'd up my medications, and they'd deal with my medications more than anything else, and I knew I needed to have some kind of therapy or something. I knew I needed that, but there just wasn't that kind of service, and so then I got a referral to another agency, and then I had to wait in line, and then I got bumped to another one, and during this time I was very suicidal, but nobody really asked me that question. No one said, did you have a plan? And I did have a plan. I even had checked to see how I could, still give my kids their life insurance, but make it look like I was going to have an accident. I realized that things were really bad, and my children were actually at my ex-husband's place for a visit, and I ended up going to emergency. I did this twice in the span of a couple of months. I couldn't get the proactive care that I needed, so I got the acute care that I needed. And so I went through probably 3 to 4 months of bouncing back and forth, emergency, going to this doctor, that doctor, until I actually found a doctor that I could build a relationship with, and I'm still with that doctor. And he's respectful of me. I know that I have to manage my care, and with that, we manage something together, and I can have a managed lifestyle. And because of that, I know that there's hope, and that I can live with this illness, and that my children can be safe, I can be safe, and that life can go on. When I'm depressed, I need to know that I have my doctor there ready to ask the questions, because right now, because I'm feeling okay, I can be proactive, and I try to do that ahead of time. But when I'm depressed, I'm less likely to take care of myself, and then sometimes my life is like a big rain cloud. But I know now that I can make it to that sunny day. There's no quick fix, and that when you're building a relationship with your doctor, or the doctor with the patient, that there's time, and that you build a relationship. And that can just be even when the patient's coming in for a routine physical, you can still build that relationship and manage, I guess, empowering the patient to help them understand their illness. So using some of the things from the module, like the PHQ-9, or another diagnostic tool to answer questions, so that the patient can answer some of those questions and the doctor can really pull out what's going on in their lives. That helps give a framework for what's going on. In the CBIS manual, there's a list of problems. I've never had the opportunity to really sit down with my doctor and say, here's all the problems in my life, and I'm not asking you to solve them all, but I just want you to be aware of them. And this one, I know we can work on together. From a patient's point of view, the PSP module that the doctors will be participating in is an effective tool to really help start the process for a patient to become healthier. And whether it gets them from, being depressed to being fully healthy, or moving them along to another place so they get a referral, there's lots of tools in that PSP module to help them, and I think it's really beneficial.